I replied to an online classified ad. It requested ambitious, motivated men and women looking for part and full-time entry-level employment at the local downtown PP meat processing plant. The ad claimed that the company offered an exciting working environment, competitive pay, and plenty of opportunities for advancement. Interested applicants were asked to submit their resumes, cover letter, references, drug screening results, fingerprints, blood analysis, social media access credentials, and dental records. They also requested a $10 processing fee before any application would be considered. You might think this to be excessive for a meat processing plant, however, I needed the job and really it's okay. I had the $10. So after hitting the attach button to include all of the info, submitting the application, then of course paying the $10 processing fee, I received an email reply a minute later stating that my application was approved and that I could now participate in the next round, the interview process. The email continued with instructions to wait at a corner that was a couple miles up the road from where I live. It specified that I'd be there at exactly 11:34 p.m. wearing, quote, non-suspicious clothing, as well as a white burlap sack over my head. I looked up at the clock and 11:34 was only in about 15 minutes from now. So I got dressed, put on my jacket, printed off my resume, then looked in the mirror to make sure that my outfit wasn't suspicious as they asked. I decided to change because, well, some might think that a bright orange trench coat with the words, "I like cats" imprinted on the back might not meet that criteria. I then reached into my job interview supplies bag, grabbed the lightest burlap head sack I could find, then headed out the door to wait at the corner as the email instructed. It was cold out and my body was shivering. If not for the cream-colored burlap sack over my head, I would have been able to see the steam coming from each breath. Damn, I mistakenly grabbed the wrong colored burlap sack. Regardless, I'm able to see through its loosely woven fibers, but what I did see isn't much, and what I can hear is the wind and the sound of cars as they pass me by. I thought that I heard one of the cars stop, but then it seemed to drive off in a hurry. I then started to wonder, why am I here? The email didn't specifically say that someone would meet me. It was only implied. When I got here, I did so with only a couple minutes to spare, and yet I've been waiting here for at least triple that now. The email was very specific about the time. What was all this for? Was this just a ruse to make this poor and suspecting soul jump through a bunch of hoops in the effort to get a job? Did I just get punked? It was then that I heard another car pull up beside me. I could hear a window roll down and hear a low, gruff voice ask, "Have you seen anyone standing here wearing a white burlap sack on their head?" We had thought this was you at first, but noticed that you were wearing a cream-colored sack instead. "I wouldn't know," I said. "As you can see, I'm wearing this sack on my head and can't say a thing." "Is this about the job? I was supposed to wear a white burlap sack and grab this one by mistake." There was a short pause and the man in the car said, "Get in." I did exactly that and sat down, then felt the car's momentum as it sped away. The erratic driving made it even more difficult than before to see through the burlap sack's woven fibers, but I could sense two other individuals in the car with me, one driving and the other in my side. None of us said a word until I tried to break the silence and asked, "Where are we go?" but was interrupted with a rather direct, "No." We continued to drive in silence for another 10 minutes or so until the car eventually slowed down. I heard the clicking sound of what I can only assume was the car's headlights being set to their off position, yet we continued to roll, albeit at a slow pace, until the car eventually stopped. The man beside me reached over my lap to grab my door's handle, and he said in the low, gruff voice as heard before, "You get out here." As I made my way out, the car's driver instructed me to wait 15 seconds, then knock at the door 3 times. So again, I did as he asked and got out of the car, stood there at the sidewalk, counted to 15, and then listened as the car sped off. I'm supposed to knock at the door. But what door? got this sack on my head. I can't see a thing. So I took it off. It would seem that I was downtown and standing next to an old, dirty, unmarked brick warehouse. This rundown part of the city isn't unfamiliar, though it's a place most around here try to avoid. This part of the city is generally referred to in not so affectionate terms as the hood. Aside from a few vacant buildings, there's not a whole lot that exists in this side of town. A few blocks down the road was the old health clinic. I've always joked that the place looks as if nothing of health could ever come of it. A bit further down is a grocery store. The only other non-abandoned building was the one I was standing next to, which appears to be the local PP meat processing company, the place where I hope to get a job. Above me was a security camera mounted to the wall. A broken streetlight flickered on and off, and the occasional large insect flew around it, casting shadows on the ground beneath me. To my side was the door that the man in the car must have been referring to. Before I knocked, I thought it might be a good idea to prepare for my interview. So I straightened my tie, clothes, and posture, pushed my hair back, then cleared my throat. I gave the designated 3 knocks at the door before me, and a sudden loud buzzer blared from within the building. Then behind the door, multiple automated industrial-sounding locks began to turn in quick succession. Nobody was there when it opened. I looked inside and saw a large, dimly lit warehouse. Towards the back, I could see an opening to another room with maybe 20 people or so standing at tables, each with styrofoam coolers in front of them, all handling the contents of whatever was inside. The coolers stood out as they were the kind you might use to keep your drinks in, but they were colored red and had a biohazard logo imprinted on the side, along with 2 large letter P's imprinted along the side. I faced an open warehouse with low ceilings, concrete floors surrounded by cinder block, all laced with cobwebs and graffiti. The room contained a single exposed light bulb with a pull string hanging in the corner. The light was insufficient to illuminate the space, but enough to cast shadows throughout it. Off to the side and in the shadows were 5 well-dressed figures, each sitting in cheap folding chairs, all with white burlap sacks in their laps, briefcases at their side, and resumes in hand. There was only one chair remaining, a nice European cream-colored leather swivel back with white highlights. Unlike the others, this chair was placed in front. Those sitting appeared to be the other applicants, and judging by appearances, my odds of getting the job didn't look too good. So I casually stepped inside the building, walked over to the group, and sat in the remaining chair as if it were meant for me. With a stern eye, I looked over the other applicants, let out a low moan, pressed my lips and eyes together, then asked each of them turn over their resumes to me. I reviewed each applicant's qualifications, assessing for education, experience, and any special skill that the ambitious prospective employee might bring to the table. Unlike myself with 0 pedigree whatsoever, each applicant was highly qualified, with degrees from Yale, Princeton, Harvard, and Stanford, all having impeccable experience and perfect credentials. After quietly reading over each of the applicants' qualifications, I pulled their resumes together into a neat stack, placed them on my lap, paused for a dramatic effect, then said, "I'm sorry, this just won't do. I'm afraid that none of you are qualified for this position." I then took a gasp of air and followed it with, "I think we're going to be looking for someone different. Thank you for your time. You are all now dismissed." Just as they left, I traded my leather swivel back for one of the cheap folding chairs in front of me. As the others had done before, I too sat up straight with my carefully placed burlap sack in my lap while retaining the small collection of resumes in my hand. I then waited patiently for the real interviewer, to whom I would give any one of the other, more qualified applicants' papers to represent me. A silhouetted figure then entered from the same area that I previously observed when the building's door first opened. This individual carried one of the same red styrofoam coolers that I had observed before. As the figure walked closer, I could see that it was a woman. She wore the familiar burlap sack on her head, making it impossible to see. She walked confidently as if she had done the same routine thousands of times before, all without the benefit of sight. When she arrived, not a word was spoken, but instead, she placed the red cooler at my feet, and then started to walk off. "Wait," I said. She stopped suddenly, as if startled that someone would actually speak. but I didn't really know what to say. I clumsily muttered out, why the burlap sack? She paused, contemplated her thoughts, then in this low, enunciated, and slightly whispered tone said, "So, we don't see each other." She swallowed, then continued while now subtly shaking her head, "We're not supposed to know." She then turned and resumed the memorized path back to the other room from where she came, this time shutting the door behind her. I looked down to the red biohazard labeled cooler and saw the previously recognized PP printed along the side. I lifted up the lid, and inside was a pool of red, thick liquid along with small chunks of pre-separated raw meat. None, however, looked like any I had ever seen before. Because of the low light, I was forced to move in closer to get a closer look. What the hell is this? These are tiny body parts, arms and legs. Holy sh! The loud buzzer and locks I previously heard when entering just sounded and echoed throughout the building. I clumsily put the lid back on as quickly as I could and resumed the same position in my seat just as the door had opened. A burly man wearing a blue jumpsuit walked in. I could see an unmarked van still running through the same door I entered only a short while ago. While at the same time trying to process what I had just seen, I began my mentally rehearsed interview introduction while halfway lifting my hand to relay one of the resumes I had just acquired. "You must be the new guy," he said in a thick southern drawl. Still shaken, I responded while at the same time retracting my resume hand, hoping to continue the appearance that I had just already been hired. Yes, I am." My eyes then fixated on a white patch on his upper left chest with the word Max imprinted upon it. "I'm Max. What's your name?" Charles," I nervously responded as I rattled off one of the names referenced from one of the other 5 resumes I previously surveyed, which I only remembered because it had sounded so pretentious. "Charlie, you be coming with me today. I'm gonna be showing you the ropes of this place. Bring that box over there and meet me in the van," Max said while pointing at the red cooler. Still stunned and still trying to process what I had just saw in the cooler, I sat still, staring off into the distance as Max headed off toward the door. Max called out, "You coming, Charlie?" Startled, I jumped up, picked up the cooler, and then followed him out the door. Now with both of us in the van, Max started up. "I think you're gonna like your job. The company pays real good. They say as long as you don't talk to no people about what we do, things will be just fine." I don't know why they say that. Competition, maybe? I don't know, but it don't bother me. I just drive my van, move these packages, and click the check. Max continued. "Some would say it couldn't get any better than that, but I did." A smile then creeped over Max's face as he started nodding. "I don't understand. You did what?" I replied. "I done made it better. I got 3 jobs. I deliver these meats in the cooler. I also drive for the grocery stores. I also drive for the other company up the road. The Clink, or something like that. I don't really know what it is. I just moved our packages for them." "Are you talking about the health clinic up the road?" I said curiously. Max responded, "Yeah, that's it. All 3 of my jobs are on my same route. I don't tell them where I'm working the other job, so don't you go telling no one either. I want to keep making all this money and not mess it up." Max continued, "I must be real lucky. I got all 3 of these jobs on the same day. It would like someone set it up for the whole thing for me or something. You know what? Luck ain't it. I'm just real smart." "So where are we going now?" I asked while nodding my head with a smile. "We're gonna do this meat delivery to the grocery store real quick." "Wait a second. We're delivering meat. The meat we just picked up to the grocery store?" "They're going to sell this meat. To eat?" I expressed to Max, now very concerned after having seen what I saw at the warehouse. "Yup. What else you gonna do with it?" Ha! Max laughed. "All right, Max. I'm going to need you to carefully tell me your route. Where do you start each day? Talk me through it, and then where you finish. There's something really, really wrong here. Don't worry, I'll explain everything later." Max responded. Well, I start by picking up these red coolers at the stowage area, then drive them over to, what did you call it? The clink? The health clinic. Where's next? They responded now in a hurried and exasperated tone. Yeah, that's it, the PP Health Clinic, Max said. The PP Health Clinic? Are you sure that's the same company where you deliver... I took a breath before clarifying. The meat? Max clarified. I get the empty coolers and take them over to the clink. I wait till a little bit and then they give me the coolers all filled up like. I then drive them over to the PP meat processing. Then when that's done, I take them boxes to the grocery store? I interrupted. Yeah, and no, it's not the same company. One is the PP Health Clink and the other is the PP Meat Processing. It's different, see? I jumped out of my seat and started opening styrofoam containers, finding more of what I had found in the warehouse. Despite Max's confusion, I asked that he quickly get out his cell phone and call the police and tell them to meet us at Max's next stop, the grocery store. 911 operator, how may I help you? My buddy here said you guys have some reason to be concerned about the company we work for. He said you probably should meet us at the grocery store down here. Who's the company you work for and where is downtown? The company is PP Meat Processing. PP, what's that stand for? It stands for Planet Parent or something like that. Oh yeah, and we in the hood